Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. We are here in Vienna for the World Policy Conference, and our guest is the President of Turkey, Abdullah Gül. Mr. President, welcome to the France 24 interview.
Teşekkür ederim. Thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim.
I want to begin with the situation in Syria. A couple of days ago, President Bashar al-Assad gave an interview on television, and he said, "We don't kill our people. No government in the world kills its people unless it's led by a crazy person." What's your reaction?
Well, let me start by saying that, first of all, Syria is a neighboring country to us, and we're sorry to see these events taking place in Syria, because all the people of Syria are our friends, and we would like to see order, stability in Syria. I say this as the president of a neighboring country, but I don't want to be misunderstood. We have no hidden agenda with respect to Syria. We only want all of the Syrian people to be happy, to have economic prosperity and freedoms. It is within this framework that I say what I say. We are following developments very closely. Unfortunately, people die every day. A lot of people die every day. Why are people out on streets? They say they want freedoms, they want to have the benefits of democracy, just like other people benefit from democracy in other countries. This is why people are out on the streets. And this was also due because they took as examples the peoples of Tunisia and Egypt. And to have tanks or soldiers to suppress these protests, and you have so many people killed, then of course things got out of hand, and the people reacted to this. And unfortunately, this is all happening by the Syrian army. It's the army of a state, in other words, which is engaged in this activity.
And so is Bashar responsible for what is happening right now? He says most of the victims are actually government supporters and not people who are against the government.
Well, what I say is very clear. There are legitimate demands of the people. And instead of listening to the legitimate demands, instead of analyzing those demands very carefully, you have, if you have the tanks, the soldiers to suppress these people in order to maintain the one-party regime, then you have what you have today. And this is very saddening.
Is Bashar al-Assad a criminal?
Well, what I said is very clear, so I want to make any specific characterization, but it's the Syrian army, the army forces who are killing these people.
Should he leave power soon as possible?
Well, I'm of the opinion that things cannot go on as they are, and we should not only look at this on the basis of a person. There is a structure there, there is an ideology there, the Baas regime, the Baas party, and he is the head of this party, and he has to see that things cannot go on the way they are. People who love Syria, people who love their own people, what they should do is to meet the desires, demands of this great people for freedoms, democracy. And although he may now be seen as somewhat late, nonetheless, he should do what is necessary. And what should be done, it's very clear. He should very clearly say that he's moving to a multi-party system, release all political prisoners, and it's important to hold elections with international observers. It's important that this is all said and done in the shortest time possible without delaying. This is what's important. It's important to stop the bloodshed.
Many people in Syria think he's not capable of doing this, all what you're saying he should be doing.
Well, there is certainly a lot of chaos internally in Syria. I believe that majority sees the right way, but they say too little, too late. It's important to realize what was going on from the very beginning, and it was important to do what was necessary immediately. What is required is to meet the legitimate demands of the people for a multi-party, pluralist, democratic system. And it's important to move into that system freely and quickly. And in doing that, it's important to free all political prisoners. Now, of course, when this wasn't done, it was delayed, everything got more bloody. The dying, the killing of even one person, whoever he may be, government supporter or opposition, we don't want anybody to die.
I want to ask about Turkey's role. Turkey is harboring a group called the Free Syrian Army in a refugee camp in the border region. There's also an office of the civilian opposition in Istanbul. Is Turkey helping groups that are going inside Syria and using military means against the government?
This is not the case. Turkey provides a democratic platform. In other words, those who fight for democracy, for freedoms, people who escape from oppression, come to Turkey, and Turkey opens its doors to them and provides protection to them. These are civilian people. They escape and they come to Turkey. At one point there were 20,000 people in Turkey. Now at the moment there are 10,000. But they are not soldiers. I want you to know that. They are not.
But they are former soldiers. This group is saying we are conducting armed operations against Syrian targets.
Well, no. Well, let me explain. Within the army, there are those who say, no, this is not the way it should be done. And they also defect, they run away, and they come and seek shelter. Otherwise, they will be killed in Syria. But there is no armed activity in Turkey. We do not allow any armed activity in Turkey. I want everyone to know this. Turkey is providing opportunities for people to meet, just like they meet in Paris, Vienna, London, elsewhere. So when people meet to talk about the future of their country, they talk about political organization, then we provide the platform for that. And because Turkey is a neighboring country, people who are afraid of being killed also seek shelter in Turkey, and we provide every facility to those people.
But when they go into Turkey, into Syria, and come back to Turkey and say, we killed a number of soldiers from the regime, do you accept that?
No, no. There is no armed element or military element in Turkey.
Okay, I want to ask you about some incidents that happened against Turkish interests. There was an assault on the Turkish embassy in Damascus against Turkish pilgrims. Do you think Syria is behind this, that the regime is striking back and taking some revenge of what it perceives Turkey's support for the opposition?
Well, nothing in Syria happens by coincidence. You only have things happening all of a sudden in societies which are not so controlled. And in Syria, social events are organized. And it is the visible and invisible elements of the state which organize certain activities.
I want to come to the issue of Iran. There's a lot of tension over its nuclear program, threats of Israeli military interventions. Where do you see this going?
I think it would be a great craziness, madness for Israel to attack Iran. That would be the very last thing to do, if ever, because this is not a joke. Iran doing that against Iran is something that would not be right. I say this as the president of a country who's against any kind of nuclear weapon in the region. We don't want to have any nuclear weapons in our region. And whether or not Iran is making nuclear weapons, I cannot say anything to that. It's the International Atomic Energy Agency which will say this. But we wouldn't want to see any nuclear weapons in any of our neighbors. But an attack on Iran, a possible attack on Iran, this would be playing with fire in a fuel tank, and I think that would be very dangerous.
The last issue, the European Union is in big trouble, as you probably realize. Is Turkey still pursuing a membership, or maybe thinking, well, the Europeans, especially the French, the Germans, don't seem to want us, so maybe we shouldn't go there and negotiate forever?
I don't understand this. Nobody signed under commitments 3 years ago just for the sake of signing them. The initiation of accession talks with Turkey was a decision taken by consensus, and many of those who signed under that commitment many of them are still leaders of their countries. So I cannot see, and I don't think it would be befitting to Europe for leaders to refuse the commitments they signed under. What Turkey is required to do is for it to fulfill the necessary criteria for membership. We are not claiming, or we should not, of course, be claiming that we want to become a member without fulfilling those criteria. So our accession process has to continue successfully. There is a pie, and people think that Turkey will take away some of this pie, this cake. That is not the case. Turkey will perhaps grow the size of this cake, of this pie, and will take a share in that bigger pie. Because Turkey is a growing economy, and we see the economic activity gravitating towards Asia in Europe and in the world, and I think everybody in Europe will realize that there is a lot of benefit to Europe with Turkey's in having relations with Turkey. But we don't say that we should become a member without fulfilling the criteria, but we also ask that Europeans also stay by their signature.
Okay, Mr. President, thank you very much for coming on the France 24 interview. Thank you all for watching it. Stay tuned here on France 24 for more news.